press, and it highlighted some buys and sells. I'll just summarize them very, very quickly. You had a buy for Anglian Direct, a buy for HomeServe, one of the companies reporting last week, a buy for Workspace, a sell for Just Eat, and a very interesting article which I'm going to go through firstly, which is about general movement of shares, which, although it said buy for Centrica, it wasn't really related to Centrica, or by Ian Dale in the Times. Now, we're going into a quiet day today. I'm not going to go through any interims or finals, because the companies which have reported, 5 of which are so small. The only one which is a partial interest, which you might want to look at, is a small company called Patisserie, with a ticker called Cake, but I'll leave you do your own research on that. But the results look reasonable. But let's go back to the press. So, in terms of the Sunday press, very interesting article. I would suggest, if you've got access to the Times, to read this. Ian Dale obviously has done this in relation to the movement of what he calls the unusual movement of the FTSE 100 main plays. He's basically said that Centrica joined the club last week, and it was the 10th stock to join the FTSE 100 club, with movements of over 10% in a day. The article then further emphasises that he suggests that although Centrica may have a slightly dubious long-term prospect or an occasionally baffling strategy, as he starts off, that the main movements of these stocks which have occurred this year, in the vast main, they have recovered. And now, as an example, AstraZeneca almost back after a 15.4% fall. Pearson Group fell by 26, went up by 23. Next, which had a profit warning early in the January, and then obviously a low in July. But if you'd bought that from low to high, it was a 47% gain. But the main issue was algorithmic trading. As we've had the city trying to clean itself up from interference with stock movements, the massive swings which you see with algorithmic trading, highs and lows moving in both directions, sometimes cannot be interfered with by the trading desks, which in the past would have come in from the brokerage houses. And the proprietary desks, which would have protected the price, that regulation which came in has taken away their opportunity to obviously interfere with the price, to stop it from dropping like a stone or going through the roof. So momentum trading by these automated systems is skewing the market. I would suggest reading that article. It's very interesting. And what it does then, it gives you, as stocks move on an extreme basis on open, it gives you an option, if you look at their results, a great trading opportunity, which I believe we can all recover from and make profits. An example last week was obviously Thomas Cook. Thomas Cook recovered on Friday because their results weren't that bad, but they were hammered for a small part, which is around their margins in Spain. So, great article. I would suggest reading that. Of the stocks which were on buys and sells, I'm only going to look at one in detail, purely because I don't think the others really stand out, and that's a company called Workspace. It was by Questa in the Telegraph. As obviously more and more small organisations with entrepreneurial flair need office space, they can't always afford a permanent rent. So Workspace has 4,000 clients, predominantly in London, and they've got 3.6 million square footage. Of the 68 properties they've got, historically they've been in industrial units. They've seen their net rental income up by 21% on the half year at 46.1 million. They've got an interim dividend at 30% up at 8.84 a share. They're looking for new property, which obviously is ex-council, which sometimes is cheaper. They've closed 2 industrial warehouse estates this year, one in the Uplands, East London, the other one on the South London Road, Zena Road. They've spent 260 million in terms of new acquisition and 80 million in terms of disposal of those 2 properties. The 260 million was bought for office sites at Finsbury Circus and Fitzrovia. So Workplace Sites has increased their portfolio on a capital basis in terms of market valuation from 760 million to 2.1 billion over the last 5 years. It's recommended as a buy. Does look interesting. Share price currently up 20% year to date and at a 945p. Okay, I can talk about anything else, but Zach, are you there?
Zach, you are there. We're looking at your screen now and your microphone's unmuted, so we should be able to hear from you.
Okay, well, just the point from Russell's rocket science regarding the algorithms in Centrica, basically, I think we discussed it before as we were preparing the program, that really means that you can have these massive moves to the downside, which are unjustified on major stocks, and then they bounce back, or they can bounce back like a cork in water. So we'll see if that happens with Centrica. Hopefully, if you bottom fish the shares at that current levels, that's what you would experience. But looking at the big screen in terms of the popular markets, the highlight for me over the weekend was that anybody taking a break over the weekend between Friday evening and Monday morning, as one tends to do, would have missed out on a 20% rise in Bitcoin, 5% rise in Ether. So those markets proving that for anybody bored of the conventional markets, there's plenty there to go for. Otherwise, it's slightly risk-off as far as, especially the DAX, German market. We'll look at the chart in a minute. Rather ironic, given the way that it looks as though there's some progress or better news there from in terms of the Grand Coalition and Mrs. Merkel getting a decent governing structure in Germany. So just looking at the intraday charts. Just wanted to show you. Actually, I mean, one of the issues of this program is that obviously I can't show you all the settings. I have all the indicators on the intraday indicators for day trading, but I can show you this on the parabolic indicator, which is a decent indicator here. So parabolic is basically a stop and reverse system. You can see there when you break a line of support, then you're selling, and you buy a line of support or break a line of support on the upside, you're buying. So you can see that on Friday there was a buy signal there around 9 o'clock, 118, what's that, 118.50, let's say, and a nice move there. This is only a 5-minute chart, so quite close to the market. Currently, we had a little pre-open buy there about an hour ago, or an hour and a half ago, and it was just seeing whether we can hold that support on that position. Looking at the overall pattern here, already with the DAX, as I mentioned, it was sold off since the open, and basically we had this time frame here shows a 2 hour, it's 2 hours ahead for some reason, but basically a couple of hours ago we had a sell signal there around the 130.40 area, and we have fallen reasonably well. So you already had a small day trade there for people scalping the market. Overnight on the Dow 5-minute chart, again a sell situation there, gap down as well. So major support there around 23,500. We'll see if that holds. For the currencies, going back to the cable, here we've got a sort of choppy move here after the rise on Friday morning. Looks like we're going to hold around the 133.10 area. Reasonable support, but again, if you're close to the market, be waiting for this parabolic resistance around 133.25 to break before going long, and hoping that we go back towards 133.50. And just finishing off this sweep with my favorite of the major crosses, the dollar yen, which is actually behaving itself quite well. Here you can see that the stop and reverse has worked very well over the last couple of weeks here on the 50-minute chart. Just triggered a sell there around 111.40 about an hour ago or so, and still in that position. Oh, sorry, it's 111.40. We'll see if that progresses over the course of the day. And going on to the markets, the market of the moment, Bitcoin. This is the 5-minute parabolic. Here you can see really that moves over the weekend, big move on Saturday night, and then over the course of yesterday as well. And really heading towards, looks like we're heading towards that magic 10,000 zone. Support there currently around the, what's that, the 9,500 level, as you would probably expect with that big round number. Price channel here, moving in that sort of direction as well. So looks like a a real runaway move there for Bitcoin, and only, I suppose, at this stage, unless there's some fundamental intervention, somebody talking it down or threatening to close it down or calling it a fraud. I think this market really is the market at the moment, as I've been hinting since we started this program. But let's go over to our next speaker if we can. Simon?
Morning, Zach.
All right, we've got John. Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. Not too bad yourself?
Well, I think you sound more okay than I am, I have to say. But we had a bit of a slippery start there.
That's okay. These things happen. Oh, it is early. Well, early for me anyway. I've got ADL to look at today.
Okay, I'll try and get that on the chart and as you speak.
No problem. So ADL is Andalus Energy, formerly CEB Resources. Interesting stock, generally for all the wrong reasons. So as I said, formerly CEB Resources. You probably won't see it on the chart because obviously with the change of name, you won't be able to see the full history on the ADL chart, I don't think, but it had a huge percentage wiped off the share price when it was suspended at the back end of 2015. Readmitted as ADL in back end of April 2016, with a massively discounted placing, and has not done a lot since. The news has sort of kept coming, but retail sentiment has dithered to the point of, this is a stock that is one that many investors love to hate. There's a lot of people lost significant sums of money on this stock. So I think we're around the sort of 0.4 pence area this morning.
Yeah.
They've released two items of news first thing today. They've managed to secure a 2 million institutional placing, which is up to 2 million. So I think they've got an initial 500,000, and this is going to be essentially in quite a wide tranche of 25k convertible loan notes. So what many may refer to as the death spiral form of funding, we will see if that's the case, but I haven't really seen, I can't think of any cases actually where convertible loan notes have been used as the method of funding and the share price has actually gone up. But the second,
are they trying to try and go for the case for the defence? Are they trying to go for a way of not diluting shareholders any further by this method? Is that the right
I guess you may. Well, you could say that. You could also probably look at the fact that retail just probably don't want to fund it. That's probably the other. There's that low. The sentiment is that low. If retail wanted to, were going to be attracted to any kind of placing with ADL, it would have to be significant discount and probably with warrants. So maybe that's just something the company are not prepared to do. But yeah, you could say they're doing this in the best interest of shareholders. I don't know. But
all right, big question here, John. What exactly is the problem here? Because that's I still don't understand exactly what the current problem is. I mean, if they rejig the company, they're raising money, they've done that. What are we waiting for here?
Well, I mean, maybe what we're waiting for is what's happened in the second RNS, because essentially what they've announced this morning is they've signed a gas sales MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Indonesian government, and essentially that's for the provision of 6 million square cubic feet per day of gas for a period of at least 15 years. Now, there's no details of what the revenue is going to be for that, so we wait to see what comes out in that regard, and we also wait to see exactly when it commences, but I believe we're going to be looking at that sort of later next year. So we just need a little bit more skin on the bone, really, a bit more meat on the bone, should I say? And I think that second RNS looks quite sexy in terms of this is real significant gas production revenues coming their way with a share price that couldn't be much more at the bottom than it is now. So it remains to be seen where it goes, but I think that this is, if anyone is still holding, or I'm sure there's a lot of people locked into ADL, I think they will welcome that news. Probably won't welcome the placing news so much, but I think it will have to see whether they get much liquidity after today or not, or from today even. And just very, very quickly. Go on.
Yeah, go on.
Well, very, very quickly, I just wanted to mention prospects as well, which we covered the other day, because they've had news of a commercial gas discovery on one of the wells that they've been drilling. So they're on a drilling program at the moment. You mentioned this one as a chart that you were quite keen on the other day. I would expect prospects oil and gas to do very well off the back, not just off the back of today's RNS, which is noting the commercial gas discovery in Romania. They've got a number of drills going on at the minute, and I think any other discoveries are going to give a nice boost to that share price. So we'll come back in a few weeks or a couple of months even and see what's going on there. But two stocks there, I think, that are potentially coming back from the dead, so to speak.
Right. So on Andalas, if you're lucky enough not to have been involved until this time, and you're doing without the sort of four-letter word prejudices that probably many private investors have, this could be a possible. You buy a tiny bit and just hope. See whether it's a 10-bagger sort of thing.
It could be. I would never recommend a buy into that company, to be honest. But it's definitely a contrarian opportunity, I think, because there's not likely to be a flurry of buys going into that stock, so you're going to be one of few, I would imagine, jumping in at this price. But we'll have to see how it does, I think. But it's potentially one to watch.
Okay, and just on prospects, we're just on the 200-day moving average there, 0.44. So hopefully today's news will take it off there and get back to the top of the range at 0.7 over the next few weeks, if this news is as good as is suggested.
Exactly.
Thank you, John.
One more thing to say. I'm actually not going to be here tomorrow or Wednesday, sorry. We are travelling around this week, so I'm actually in London, but I will be back on Thursday.
Well, you can come and sit beside me and broadcast from here.
I could do, but I'm probably going to have to pass, I'm afraid.
Sunny Bayswater. How can you resist the delights of sunny Bayswater? But anyway, we'll see you later in the week, and I'll see you actually in sunny Walsall on Friday or Thursday. Was it Friday? It's Friday night, isn't it?
Friday. Hopefully it'll be Friday, yeah.
Friday evening, I'll be there, if the train gets me there on time. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be like an early Christmas party.
Hopefully.
Okay, John. Thank you very much, and see you later in the week.
Thank you, John.
Guys.
Okay, we're going over now, Zach, to Ian Foster for our Forex review, and then crossing to David Paul after Ian. So, Ian, good morning. I've taken your microphone is unmuted, so we'll pass over the presenter and get Ian's view on the Forex markets.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Good. Well, how are you all? Good, yes?
Yep, this is all good. Yes. We're looking at your charts now.
First class. Well, Monday morning brings new opportunities, hopefully. In relation to the pound dollar, it has come off. Obviously, the euro dollar made a big move on Friday. The pound was reasonably strong too, but again, I'm looking here at this bullish bar from Friday, and this is the weekly bullish bar, which is indicating that we should break to the upside rather than to the down. Now, again, from going back a number of weeks ago, I'm sure some of the listeners have heard me many times talking about the highs here of 134.00. We did get over the cable, which is pound dollar, did get over one hurdle last week, which was the 133.20, and it needs to certainly break 134.00 before it starts to travel without too many hurdles in its way northwards. But that 134, 130.26 level, which is like a 400 pip move, or 400 pip range rather, is still very much in play. This morning we've come back down and we've retraced a little bit, but if I look at the intraday chart, you can see that the guidance chart, which is a 15-minute chart, is still all in red mode. We're just now starting to turn blue here in the 5-minute, but there's no real true signal there yet, because I don't like the trading chart, I call it, I don't like it being in blue and the guidance chart being in red. If this starts turning to green and we're starting to get strength here with higher highs, it could be an opportunity to go long, and that would also fall into place as regards looking at the daily charts. Again, the euro dollar with a fantastic move, as we all know, and I know you've spoke about it already, Zach, this morning, with a fantastic move on Friday. I had been long the euro dollar myself, and unfortunately I brought my stop up reasonably tight due to the fact that over Thursday and Friday, certainly Thursday with Thanksgiving and Friday being a half day in the US, that it was going to be a reasonably quiet day. And of course I went out of the office, but the market did give the retracement here. It was there was the mode that we were talking in, and once it broke, I brought my stop up to under 118.60. It went back long again, as you can see here, just about 70, and it took off, and by golly, it took off in style. It was picked to perfection, thank goodness, both the guidance and the 5-minute chart and 15-minute chart. And that also would fall into suit in relation to the the hourly chart was already in blue mode, and it had made the retracement in down here, and again it also started giving an indication for bullish bar. So this is where we are now. We're starting to consolidate, and you know, after a large move on most instruments, it doesn't matter whether it be Forex or whether it be indexes or whether it be stocks, commodities, etc. After you get a large move, you can quite often find that the very next day after such a move can be quite a sideways movement day. Again, at this stage, it is actually less hurdles if it intends to go further north than the pound dollar. So at this stage, again, I would be looking for probably any weakness being an opportunity to go long. You can see here both the guidance chart and the 5-minute chart are in red bars. And again, if you're taking any trades such as this here, there'll be counter trend trades at this minute, and nothing wrong with counter trend trades, because they can turn into good trending moves. It means when you initiate your trade, you have to be a little bit more cautious in relation to your protective stops. Getting into the indices, sorry, that is Bitcoin. I know, Zach, you've touched on that, picked out a fantastic trade. Sorry, we'll just talk about Bitcoin at this minute in time. I've done my first trade in Pelican. I've opened up a new group, be a crypto trader in Pelican, and my first trades on Pelican, again, you can see my signal came in here just this side of 8,200, and I went long. So my first two trades, I'm glad to say now I'm up quite a considerable amount of points. I've locked in one of the positions with 1,100 points, and I have my second position still running, presently around about the 1,400 point, 1,400 plus move. So a fantastic first trade on the Pelican app on the Bitcoin, just based on our software with the blue bars. Getting back to the DAX, you see we've opened here this morning. We've had weakness through the night. Once the official opening came in, there's been weakness here with red bars in place, but again, I'm using that, to be quite honest with you, providing it doesn't break the 12,978 area. I'm presently trading at around the 13,027. I'd be looking for intraday strength coming into the DAX, probably for a long signal. Again, the reason for that is because we have this bullish bar on Friday. And last week was quite a strong move that the DAX done, because it actually broke to the upside instead of the downside on a weekly bar. And it's a very reliable market if you're just able to analyze one single bar in the way up here. So that's just a notification of a neutral alert coming on to the pound dollar on a 15-minute chart here. So the DAX, for the nature of its price action last week, it would be an indication that we should be using, I believe, any of these retracements as opportunities probably to go long. And just I'll finish off by looking at the FTSE. The FTSE is exactly the same. The key level in the FTSE, 7388, trading presently just opened here now live around the 7397. I would not like to see the FTSE breaking 7388 again from Friday's bar, a bullish bar into a weekly bullish bar. An inside bar, admittedly, so it has to clear the hurdle here of 7474. The FTSE just not as strong as some of the other markets. So it's 7474 that needs to clear. Just watch the 7388 level. If it breaks out there, it could be indicating a little bit of a further retracement on the FTSE. Again, the US market, we are marked down by about 20-30 points compared to the official close. Again, it's non-stop. There's a very bullish bar. I know the last couple of days in the US mean nothing. The daily bars are very, well, nothing there on Thursday, as you know, and with Friday being a half day, it's a very small day. Closed officially at 557. I think at presently they have it, well, with the FTSE weakness here, it's coming in at this minute in time at 531. So they're down 25 or 30 points. Again, we're in blue bars here. I think it probably will be an opportunity. I think this market probably will go into its possible Christmas rally mode. Certainly at the beginning of this week, it looks reasonably strong. So that is my assessment for the beginning of the week. Again, as Zach, you said, you got me looking at Bitcoin, a phenomenal market, a market that certainly makes decent moves. And even with the weakness, as weak as it was, it still wouldn't have been a losing trade. The last sell signal down here, but when it went into green mode and retraced and went back into blue mode, I think there's a fantastic move. And thank goodness it's my first trade in my new group for cryptocurrencies on Pelican. But
don't forget who suggested that you look at Bitcoin, Mr. Boston.
I'm just after giving you the credit that you deserve, my friend. Very much so.
Well, all right. Yeah. No, it's just. I mean, it really is. I can't say it enough. It's not my. I didn't set up the market, but it really is a technician's dream. It's an algo trader's dream, and it's also somebody. If you're bored over the weekend, it's also or in the night. It's just there all the time for you. So. If you've got any system which even half works on Bitcoin, I don't see how you would really want to be looking at other markets that much, let's say. But who knows?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean,
with the new market,
picked out some phenomenal moves, Zach. Since you got me to look at it, and I give you all the credit. There was a 1,500 point down move. Back here, whether I possibly can't pick it up with my data. There was another fantastic move picked up when it was down at 6,500, and again there was the 1,500 point. Well, I just moved that out of the way. There was the 1,500 point fall, and again we picked it out to perfection here. And I think with the spread, I'm closely looking at a 30-minute chart, keeping an eye on it, and flicking over possibly to the 15-minute. Just to confirm my entry points, but the chart that I'm trading this off is a 30-minute chart, and as I say, just at the death before I just take a decision to go long or short, I flick over very much to the 15-minute chart, and there's what that looks like at this moment in time. There you go, everyone.
Okay. All right. Just have a couple of points there. Given you effectively have a stop and reverse system, why do you use stop losses? Because basically the software is going to get you in and out, isn't it?
Well, Zach, you know how quick it moves, and it can move very, very quickly. And if I'd probably, again, a trailing stop would probably suit. I think Bitcoin with a trailing stop would actually suit exceptionally well. Just to give you that little bit of further confidence. And again, it's not an EA. This is very much based on a discretionary basis at this minute in time. I could actually get this probably programmed into an EA, and it would actually, then you would not probably need stops on a stop and reverse basis. But because it is discretionary and you could happen to make the move, I know over the weekend, and you know over the weekend, this was a phenomenal upward move, but it could also be the same. Remember, to the downside, if you're sitting along. Just sorry, these neutral alerts are starting to appear. This is just the software related on the euro US dollar. It's went into green bars, folk, on a 5-minute chart. So again, there could be opportunities there.
Okay,
Again,
well, we'll see how everything progresses today. Let's go over to our final guest, who I believe is Mr. David Paul, or Dr. David Paul.
Dr. David Paul, good morning. It's Simon here. Are you ready for me to share screens with you?
Yes, Simon, certainly. Yeah. Certainly. Good morning.
Okay, fantastic. We're now looking at the good morning. Sorry, we're now looking at the VectorVest home screen.
That's correct.
Is great. So you want to give us, sorry to keep you waiting there a little bit. I hope you're well. If you want to give us an update on the markets through the VectorVest perspective, that would be super.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. The short-term trend of the London market is up. The longer-term trend is up. So we are in an up situation. Short-term trend is up. The longer-term trend is up. However, the most conservative signal in VectorVest is still pointing down. That's still a confirmed call. The underlying trend has not been confirmed by price action as yet. So, and little pointers in the middle here, and VectorVest advocates caution buying stocks at this time. So, if you just do what the darn thing tells you to do, you get very, very lucky indeed. So just I'm being careful presently until we move back up into a confirmed up situation. So if we actually have a look at the market itself, this is the VectorVest composite of the UK. It's an equally weighted index of all of the shares that we follow. And that's the last confirmed down signal. And we're now pushing back up the page. I myself don't think it's going to be a great deal, as I mentioned last week. As you can see, there's tram lines in play here that have been holding this market for quite a while. That resistance, support, and then resistance and resistance, and now support and support. If we put on our momentum indicator, the market timing indicator, let me just change its color. I note that although the price here has made a rising bottom, the MTI has made a falling bottom, and it's pushed back up through one again. And invariably, when you get this reverse divergence, that it precedes a reasonably fast move. This was a stronger divergence here in that the price was rising but the indicator was falling, so they were completely going different ways, and that precipitated this move. And I think that we're going to see a further push up the page here over the next few weeks. Although the longer term trend is down, I'm reasonably positive. I'm watching stops carefully in the portfolio that I've got, and largely the portfolio that I'm holding in my position trading portfolio. Largely that portfolio was put into place at the start of the year, way back at this confirmed up signal, which happened last December, and I haven't had a great deal to do in that portfolio since. So watching it carefully. Every time I get a red signal, watching it carefully, but haven't had a great deal to do, and I'm glad to report it's well up. But I've isolated 6 stocks, maybe 5 stocks that look interesting this morning, and I've made a list of them here for us. Some small spec stocks and some larger ones, but I've charted these. The first one that I like the look of is MU Pharma. It's undervalued. It's got a very high earnings potential, but low safety of earnings. So it's, as I say in my blog, it's for the more adventurous investor. But the chart of it looks really good. And this is a push up in earnings
where earnings where it went from losing money to making money, and VectorVest revalued the thing pretty much overnight. And that preempted this break up the page by a couple of months. And it's pushed up the page here. It's gone sideways in what my technician's mind can see as a triangle here. Although maybe you have to be looking at these patterns for a long time before you can see that. It's on a buy recommendation, and it seems the market action seems to want to push this up the page. Now, this flagpole here is from 50 to 100, so that's 50p. So that should actually, the technical target for once and the fundamental target based on the VectorVest valuation are one and the same. So I think that there is a trading opportunity here over the next few weeks where this share can go up by 50%. We shall see. Very low risk down here, and you can test that trading opportunity for a few pence. Okay, so that's something for you to observe. For those people that can manage stops and manage stops proactively without fear or hesitation. Remember, when the relative safety gets down below 1, it means there have been surprises in the past, and invariably they don't change their spots, these things. Okay, so that's the first share. You can still hear me, Simon? I haven't.
We can hear you. We're gripped.
Oh, Zach, morning to you, sir. Sometimes when I don't, I'm still a bit paranoid about the internet here in sunny Notting Hill. It lets me down from time to time.
It's as bad as the one in Bayswater.
When all the VectorVest webcasts, I actually go to our office at St. Paul's to do them there. I've got a copper wire, but it seems to be fine so far. The second share, again, a speculative share, which is a gold mining company with the assets mostly in China. And I've traded in this a few times myself. I haven't got a position in it now. I had a position in it from here to here, and from there to there. I took the money, but it looks to me as if this wants to go again. Significantly undervalued, growing earnings strongly. The gold chart itself not talking to me at the moment. It's sitting, the bullion chart sitting on a 618 retracement of the last range. But I like the way this has come back to those old tops and charted this beautiful outside bar here. And the outside bar has, in fact, engulfed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 trading days, and that's quite a strong. I pay much more store to an outside bar than I do to a bullish engulfing. I don't particularly rate the bullish engulfing candle pattern at all. I believe it's the highs and the lows that are much more important than the open and the close. If you look at your trading record, you'll probably find that you get stopped out quite a lot on the highs and the lows. It's not the open and the close that causes the damage, it's the highs and the lows. So very, very important bar on that, and I think if we break above the high of this outside bar, that we'll see a move here on the upside, assuming the gold market can hang in there. So another small speculative play. The Volex group I spoke about last week, and Volex is doing all the right things. Again, VectorVest revalued the share just about here, and that revaluation, in fact, preceded this move by a couple of months. I like to do a search on VectorVest, Zach, which looks at, it's called a delta search or a rate of change, where I look at the EPS rate of change over the last 20 days, for example, or the last 30 days, and that alerts me to shares where the earnings per share has risen strongly, and that invariably precedes a trending move. So when you see earnings per share rising strongly, and then you get a technical signal such as this buy signal here as it broke those highs, then there's normally money to be made, and some good money made. So I have a position in Volex myself from about 68p, and it's moving up the page quite nicely here, and that market action if we can have a look at it a little bit more closely. As you can see, markets coming down here and taking out obvious lows. Always a good sign when you see these tails, and up a little bit on Friday, and I think that looks quite good to me. So I have a position in that myself. Okay, Stobart. Well, again, the theme of this morning is this earnings per share rise, which precedes. I don't even know if precedes is a proper word. I've been using it for years. Would I get any points in Scrabble for precedes? I don't know, but it tends to precede a strong move. So we have this earnings per share moving up 3x in Stobart. VectorVest revalued the thing, and as yet it still hasn't moved. So it's moving sideways, Zach, in a flag type pattern, and we have 1, 2, 3, presently charting out wave 5 of that pattern. And those of you listening, folks, if I saw Stobart going to a buy recommendation and breaking above about the 3 level, then I think that there's a move there. Okay, so just watch that. Okay, in terms of finding high percentage moves, this EPS delta search, or rate of change, Americans call it delta, but rate of change search finds these winners over and over again. It's something I do every weekend, and maybe on a Wednesday as well during the week. Countryside Properties. Countryside Properties, I think, did the best out of the budget last week, and technically they've done pretty much what you would expect them to do. They broke from this little flag formation and broke up, couldn't quite get through the old highs, and have pulled back to where that line which defined the highs of the flag has now become support, and seems to be pushing up the page again. Went to a buy recommendation the other day, and as I mentioned last week, this should in fact be the target. So that's going from about 220, about 360. Okay, so that's £1.40. If you add that to the lows, that would take this up to about 450. So I'm looking forward to a move in Countryside Properties sooner or later to about 450. As I say, I'm in the thing since last December down around here, so I'm reasonably happy with Countryside Properties, and we shall see. Got a bit of work to do to get through these highs, but I'm holding the position, and I like the company. TriFast. TriFast I've been holding for a very long time, since down here, in fact, since it broke down there, and I've written about it 3-4 times on the VectorVest blog, vectorvest.co.uk/blog. Now, it went into this pennant type formation. I always like a market that comes down and does its best to take out lows. So it came back here and created an enormous amount of liquidity as it broke down below £2, and that's where the smartest money, in fact, cliche is, filled their boots. It's broken up the page. It's on a buy recommendation, looking fairly fully valued, but the earnings potential over a window of 3 years into the future is quite strong. So I think that we've got a move in TriFast that's got about £1 in it, between 120 and 220, and that should take TriFast up to about the £3 level. And I think it's going to be a move, Zach, that takes place over a multi-month move like so. Okay. It's not going to be a fast move. TriFast sells a lot of their kit, nuts and bolts and fastening systems in Europe, and if we were to see the euro, in fact, the pound fall against the euro, that would do it an awful lot of good. Okay, and I'm looking at a level in the euro. Ian and I should actually maybe take opposite sides of the position, because we could probably mitigate against the spread, but I'm looking at 119.71 as a level in the euro dollar to short it, and 134.20 in the pound against the dollar to short it. I've shorted the pound against the dollar now 3 times since I've been on these morning things of Simon's. First one I made a few ticks, and the second 2 times I got stopped out at entry. So I'm looking for a level again at about 34.20, which is 62% of the last range. But I like TriFast for a move up the page. And the last one's my old friend Topical. God bless it. Very important level here around the £4 level. It came back undervalued, growing earnings strongly. Again, I first noticed it because of this earnings per share delta search, and as I say, that's produced a great deal of cash for me over the last year or two. Earnings per share, as Ben Graham said in his book so many years ago now, earnings per share growth is the engine that drives the share market. Now I can see this little flag pattern. Now in the flag, Zach, you can in fact count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So a 5-wave counter trend flag. That low was 62% of that range. So the smartest minds in the universe, that's where the orders were. Okay, and that would have been a great little entry here. It's broken up the page. It's charted 2 inside bars. It's still on a hold recommendation. I think if Topical breaks above these highs and it turns into a buy, that, as my old rugby coach used to say, the ball is in, the game is on. So that's Topical. So those are the shares that I've in fact talked about this morning. I think that if I want to have a theme for the morning, Zach, it's the ability of VectorVest to in fact find shares that have had a sudden increase in earnings per share, where we revalue the share and the market in fact takes a month or two to react, and that gives quite a few weeks notice that we've got a nice high percentage move just about to happen. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm reasonably positive going forward. I would like to see the underlying trend of the London market turn up. I would like to see one of these little green triangles, and if that's the case, then I think that we're going to push up and push up strongly towards the last few months, the last few weeks of the year, should I say. There's no doubt that the overall market is very mature. I think that Luke Johnson summed that up in the Sunday Times very nicely yesterday. Anybody that read his column in the Sunday Times. We've had a market that's moved since March 2009. If you look at the long-term S&P chart, it would seem to be right at the top of the channel. Probably another month or two to go to a Fib objective, but the market is mature. There's no doubt about that.
Isn't the market just as mature as interest rates are low, David?
Yeah, that's for sure. And
I mean, you know, if the interest rates are low, it can be
free money
mature for 100 years.
Yeah, the only certainty is that the trends seem to be turning to the upside again. Anybody that started that had a view, an emotional view that this market is too high, those people have been punished very, very strongly over the last few months and years. So I'm riding it strong, still to the upside, but I am conscious that it is mature, and if all of this free money stops, then I think there could be headwinds. So I'm conscious that the market is mature. Unfortunately, I see the Bitcoin thing as a symptom of free money and too much free money sloshing around the system. Although I agree with you completely that it's a wonderful trading vehicle. Patterns that haven't really worked that well in technical analysis for a long, long time seem to work pretty much all the time if you look at the Bitcoin chart. So a great technical trading vehicle for sure.
Okay, David, we'll just go, thank you very much for your input today. We'll go just back to the major markets, FX and indices, just for a final sweep, if we can.
Thanks very much, Zach. Cheers, Simon.
Thank you. Thank you,
David, thank you. And I'm all for rugby metaphors this morning. It was a good day on Saturday.
Okay, just to finish the show with a bit of Major markets, we had that indicator to buy euro dollar on the parabolic basis, a bit of a shuffle back down towards 119.18, 119.20, but pushing up quite strongly after that consolidation that Ian Foster mentioned. It was quite a long sideways move in relative terms overnight, but it looks as though we're going to get another leg to the upside on this, which if we do, obviously technical rules would suggest the next leg up would be of the same kind of magnitude as the one we saw going into on Friday. So what was that, 118.20 to 119.40 or so maybe through the 120 this time later today. Interestingly enough, not too much of a move there on pound dollar, but still following through on that resistance break there around the 133.25 level. Dollar Canadian moving down nicely after that. This is a 15-minute chart, I believe. Yes, after that signal on Friday. So consolidation, and then just the opposite, obviously, of euro dollar on that situation. Interesting that that there's also been moves to the downside in dollar yen. So following on from the signal or the break of resistance that we had overnight around 111.40, so 20 pips in on that one. And perhaps more interestingly, a bit of a bounce back in the indices. DAX back up towards 130.30, try to flip up there. These markets, indices never seem to want to stay down too long. And then just to finish off on gold, we're also flicking higher with this push towards $1,293. Obviously, there's a lot of resistance going up towards the 1,300 area, but you can see this. There is a line that we have broken on the 15-minute chart. So, according to technical rules, there could be some decent follow-through here again. Something of the magnitude of the 12.79 to 12.93 move we saw at the end of last week. So that could take us through the $1,300 area. But that's it from me for today's show. Thank you to all the guests, Ian Foster, John Adamson, Russell Jones, and Dr. David Paul. And just saying goodbye to you as well, Simon.
Indeed. Many thank you, Zach, and we'll look forward to speaking to you again in the morning.
Thank you.